Welcome to the first episode of From Adventurer to Innkeeper, a podcast for all LARPers. I am your host, Martin, and we will be talking about live-action roleplay events and experiences. Throughout this series, we will talk about specific LARPs and also more general topics surrounding LARPs, but for this first show, we'll be focusing on what the goals for the show are, what LARP is, and some of the various thoughts that people have around LARP. This show is for both new LARPers through to seasoned veterans, and we will be implementing a scale to let you know what the main focus of each episode is. Episodes will air every odd month, so January, March, May, July, September, November, and will be approximately 1 to 2 hours in length. Every episode is for everyone, but some will focus more on issues which will resonate more with one group or another. As such, we will have a scale which will tell you the focus of the topics and possibly the depths of some of the various bogs and dungeons we will wade into. This scale will be 1 to 10 and set up as follows. 1 will be the young adventurer, which will focus on those who are new or just starting out in LARP. These episodes will focus on things which will be of interest to new LARPers as they venture forth and begin their adventures. At 3, you should consider yourself an established hero. You're the guy that everyone in town is coming to when that dragon needs to be slayed and you've done several LARPs. These episodes will be discussing different LARPing experiences and also just different LARPs. 7 will be once you've reached that status of well-known noble. You've slain dragons, escaped dungeons, rescued the villagers, reaped the rewards of all those years of questing, and been LARPing for a while either locally or internationally. These episodes may look at aspects of character development or costuming or helping to add to the LARP as a player or even NPCing for a LARP. A 10 on the scale will be for the grizzled Innkeeper. You've stepped into the realm of running the store. You might benefit from a more technical discussion of LARP or designing and running LARP events, which are what these episodes will focus on. Finally, we have one that's not on the scale, which is Town Crier episodes. These will be those that are outside of this scale and will speak to all LARPers regardless of experience. For this first episode, I'm going to designate it a Town Crier episode, as it'll be more about LARP overall and act as an introduction to the series. I should probably provide you with some background on who I am, at least with regard to LARP. I'm an avid LARPer who's been LARPing for close to 30 years. Most of that time has been spent on local or parlor LARPs, but in the past few years I've ventured into the world of the international blockbuster LARP, starting with Fairweather Manor in Poland 2 years ago. That was followed by Odysseus in Finland, then Outbound Hope in Michigan, followed by College of Wizardry in Poland, and finally Expedition Sahara in the Sahara Desert in Tunisia. Additionally, I have heavily financed LARPs, including being the main financial backer for Legend of the Stars, which had 3 adult runs as well as 2 youth runs, all on decommissioned U.S. warships, a substantial backer for Outbound Hope, which also runs on a decommissioned U.S. warship, and one of the top backers of the Save the College of Wizardry campaign. I spend a great deal of time and finances on LARP because I genuinely enjoy stepping out of my regular job in pharmaceuticals, which is both high pressure and stressful, and LARP is an excellent way for me to de-stress. This program and subsequent shows are about you, the LARPer, or the LARP designer, or the LARP organizer. I have reached out to 7 LARPers I know personally and have asked them to tell us what they feel LARP means to them. So let's hear from these fellow LARPers. Each question will be followed by all 7 answers. Hello, and welcome to From Adventurer to Innkeeper, a podcast for all LARPers. You are a person who has LARPed before, and I thank you for agreeing to share some of that with our audience. Would you please tell us your name?
SaraKate.
Hi, my name's Drew.
I am Kaleen.
My name is Linn.
My name is Antti.
My name is Tiana.
My name's Raquel Skellington.
Welcome to the show, and what does LARP mean to you?
LARP, by definition, is live action roleplay, but it's a way to escape for a day or 3 or 4 days from my stressful job and life. I get to play someone else, or a role of somebody who I think I want to be besides myself.
So LARP to me means hanging out with friends and just having a general good time.
So to me, LARP is a way that I express myself. It is a form of entertainment, an enjoyment, and a social event. And at the same time, it can also allow us to tell stories with friends and actually have an ability to actually learn things from each other that we may not have actually realized going into it.
LARP is, for me to have just to let go of the reality for a bit and have fun with most of the time with friends. And it's a fun pastime. Yeah, it means a lot to me because I would not be the same person and be where I am in life if it had been thanks to LARP. So yeah, it certainly has changed my life and for the way better. So LARP is good shit.
Oh dear, that's a large question. I'd say it is the best hobby, but for me, I suppose it's something where I go for cinematic experiences and role-playing. Jesus, I immediately lose the words. Turn. Immediately. English fails me immediately. I just need to, because I want to say this word. Or I'm very bad at this. It translates just to experience, but in Finnish the word is kind of like more like the thrill or the kind of like the whole, there's like the whole entire thing of it is it like living in the movie or being part of like something bigger than yourself. It's really hard to translate exactly, but yeah, that's I guess what LARP is for me, being part of a bigger story and a narrative and part of and also experience something else than what you can experience normally in life.
LARP to me means, it's an incredibly moving experience of storytelling within a community. It's a safe place to explore emotions, experiences, to connect to others. For me, it's also a way to connect to the past and to experience things that I would generally have no opportunity to explore in my regular everyday life.
So I see LARP mostly as a really wonderful performance art. I know a lot of people see it as a means of escape or a means to, get away from things. But I personally, ever since I started doing it when I was young, about like 15 years old, I always saw it as like a challenge, like to portray somebody, to bring a character to life. It means everything to me because it shaped me as a person. It shaped me into who I am now, and it shaped my entire career. But I think it's a wonderful form of artistic expression that challenges what it means to be somebody and create somebody and exist as somebody else. And I think that's very powerful and very beautiful.
Thank you for that. What are some of the LARPs that you have done?
So my very first LARP was Legends of the Stars. I have done 3 adult runs of it, and then I was also an NPC for the youth version of it. I've done New World Magiscola in Holyoke, Massachusetts, Fairweather Manor in Mosna, Poland. I've done College of Wizardry at Cholkna Castle in Poland, and I have done Sahara in the Sahara Desert, Tunisia. And I have a couple coming up for 2020.
See, Mysterium, Bywater, Legend of the Stars, Infection, Synthwaves, and I can't remember what the other Faros one was.
I have done a lot of LARPs lately, ranging from the larger, more blockbuster-type-esque to just a local game here within my own state and hometown area. Some of these include Learn LARP productions with New World Magiscola and Imperial Magiscola, kind of based around magical colleges here within North America. I've done Legends of the Stars, a more spacey type fandom on an old battleship. I've done Dragon Thrones, which is kind of based off of Game of Thrones, but has a more heavy board game or mega board game component to that LARP. And then I've also done Outbound Hope, which is kind of based on Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, and different military civilian aspects as well.
Well, lately I have been doing a lot of space LARPs, both Outbound Hope and Odysseus, but my more frequent LARPs are a LARP called På Gott och Ont, or as in English is On Good and Evil, which is a horror LARP campaign. And it's so that are the most things I have done the recent years. I have done fantasy LARPs before, but most of the time it has been in the horror campaign or a space LARP.
Oh dear. Well, I've LARPed for over 20 years now, so there's I think I stopped counting once I did closer to 100, and I'm guessing I'm closer to 300 games right now. But of international LARPs, I've LARPed in the Sahara Desert in the Lovecraft game by the Italians. I've been to Icarus. I have been to Convention of Thorns, of the larger international type of games. I went to the Finnish Freak Show. I've been to Bloodspund Reloaded in Sweden, and then a myriad of Finnish LARPs. Which names will not mean much to you guys, but from all sorts of genres and types of games and sizes.
Some of the LARPs that I've done, my first international LARP was actually Fairweather Manor. I've done 1878 Welcome to Salvation, which was a Western in the 19th century. I did a Wing and a Prayer, and then I also have done a series of murder mystery type LARPs, which are named Death and Decadence.
So I'm very lucky to say that LARPing is my full-time career. So I've been very blessed to have been all around the world, to many far corners, to play pretend. So I've done local games that, have only been a few people, 10 people in a room LARPing. And I've done massive expansive games like Fairweather Manor or College Wizardry from the now defunct Showback. But I've done so many now, I think, to the point where I've started to lose count, and I've started to forget how many games I've really gone to, how many characters I've really made. But I've done everything from American freeform, classic crunchy numbers and everything, to barely any rules, European style.
And what is your favorite aspect of LARP?
My favorite aspect of LARP is getting a new character in general, and getting to develop it, make it something. Maybe it might be a different version of myself, but mainly seeing how it interacts with other players and how they interact with me.
Probably scene design. I love working behind the scenes and getting to build all these sets.
I would say my favorite aspect of LARP is the ability to become someone else for a short period of time. I love theater and acting, and so I actually often use LARP as kind of a character exercise to put myself in a different character and actually get very much into their headspace and their actions and their feelings during the course of a weekend event. And I love being able to play out someone completely different from myself, from someone who is extremely naive and just willing to go jump feet first into the unknown to someone kind of evil and crafty and devious, and just enjoy it and see what comes of it.
My favorite aspect of LARP are the fact that I can be someone else for a bit, and I get to do something very cool or awesome, or something I have always wanted to do but haven't been able to do in real life because of obvious reasons, like I can't use magic, I can't operate a spaceship or anything like that. I can't shapeshift in real life, and to be able to get to play these things out, and as I said before, being someone else is very, very much fun, and one of the things that makes me keep wanting to come back, really.
My favorite aspect is when I'm so immersed in the story and the world that there's just a small voice in the background of my head, like going like, and when there's like a scene or something that's so cinematic that the small voice in the back of my head goes, oh my god, it's just like I'm living in a movie, and then I'm actually like feeling and living in that movie and forgetting my own like things and just like living that character, feeling those emotions. Sometimes like cool action scenes or things like that, they're all like that, like complete immersion, I'd say, is probably the main thing.
I think my favorite aspect of LARP is the community. Getting to meet people who have the guts to play pretend for hours or for days and to tell compelling stories together is pretty awesome, and especially in a world where I feel like we're told that we need to be a certain way or do certain things. It's a safe place to just really step into the shoes of other people and just to experience something new.
My favorite aspect of LARP is, I believe, for me, the character creation. Like, conceptualizing and designing a character and their personality, and right after that would be literally the performance of bringing them to life, as interacting as them, as breathing and thinking and being them. But something I've always deeply enjoyed has been the character and creation process for LARP.
What are some things that you would like a new LARPer to know about LARP?
Don't stress. I'm really big about stressing out before a game and during a game. Don't stress. We're doing this for fun. This is a hobby, and we're supposed to have fun with it. So, just, if you want, you can stick to your character as much as possible. Use it as a guide. Roll with the punches. It isn't a play, so it is a play, but it's not like a set play where you have lines. So things will change. Expect them to change. Don't expect them to go exactly as planned, and don't freak out about that. Take breaks. Make sure you take care of yourself. Definitely take care of yourself. Don't overextend yourself. Take breaks. If you find you haven't taken a nap and miss something, take a nap.
The first and most important thing that you need to know is that, contrary to what video games taught you, the objective is not to win. If you go in trying to win, I'm not going to say you're going to have a bad time, but you're not going to have the best possible time. If you go in expecting to just play the character how the character would play, or going and doing exactly what you'd want to do, you're going to have a lot better time, you're going to have a lot better interactions, and it's going to be more fun.
I would like new LARPers to know that they can do it. I have so many people who are new to the game and are so scared and reluctant that they're going to somehow mess up something that happens. And I just wish they would understand that even those of us who've been doing this now for a couple years really don't know still exactly what we're doing, but we just kind of try something and we let it build and see what happens. Take the risk, jump in feet first. I think the worst thing a new LARPer could do is not commit 100% to what they're trying to do. You know, thinking that, oh, I'm just going to watch on the sidelines for a little and then see what happens, and maybe eventually I'll be able to do this. No, you just have to jump in feet first, find some people who are going to take you under their wing and just help you get into their own stories. And by doing so, you're going to find your own stories have come to light, and you're going to have a lot more fun.
Ooh, that is a bit of a tough one, but don't be afraid to say, this, I can't deal with this right now. There's a subject, or like when you are new, you don't know your boundaries just yet. But when you do feel like this is uncomfortable for me, just go away and and remove yourself from that situation. It is okay. You're being able to your words. What's that? You being comfortable are more important than being like you need to keep up the illusion that are in the scene. That you are not breaking down crying, or you are harmed or anything like that. That is more important than playing a game. And as said, as a new LARPer, it's very, very hard to know these things beforehand. But don't be afraid of breaking or taking a break from the game when you feel like this is too much for me.
A new LARPer to think about let's see. Well, don't worry, it's going to be fine. People are really great at helping each other out. Usually people who start out feel that they're not doing enough or aren't adequate, or for example their kit or costume isn't enough, but most of the time it's plenty, and people usually play the lift. So I'd say if you have any concerns or are afraid of something in there, just be open about it. Talk to the other players and trust them to help you out. Like if you feel like you're not a great speaker or a leader and you've got a character who is in a role, then just ask people to play you up, and they usually will, and they will kind of like listen to you as if you were a leader, and that goes to everything. Like if LARP is all about make believe, so we're all playing together, and if your character is supposed to be something, just ask for help if you feel like you can't embody that yourself, and just be brave and have buttloads of fun.
Firstly, it's okay to not know what you're doing. You're going to be taken in by those who do want you to have the best time, and others who will help you go with the flow. I'd encourage seeking out those whose aim is to improve your game rather than to use your character or you in general as a stepping stone to their own story. And you'll really be able to find those people easily as they'll encourage you to talk about what kind of experience you're looking for out of game.
Well, that's a good question. I think I would want a new LARPer to know that there's 100 different types of games out there. And just because the one that you may have started with may not have been your best fit, doesn't mean you won't find another one out there. And there's all sorts of genres, and there's all sorts of play styles, and to keep experimenting, to go in with an open mind, and to be ready to play with everybody else. Not only go in and live your story, but help everybody else live theirs. I think if you go in with an open mind and a community-ready attitude, you're going to have a really fun time.
And finally, if you're willing to tell us, what is your favorite LARP and why?
My favorite LARP was College of Wizardry. It's considered a blockbuster LARP, but it was just, I got to go to wizardry school for 3 days, and I met some amazing people, and the chemistry between everybody was just amazing. There's play seemed effortless, and once again I stressed over everything, but I didn't have to stress about everything because it all just seemed to go. It just seemed everything, whatever you did with somebody or other things, it just seemed to go, and the play happened. No one cared if what you wore, or cared if you were trying too hard. And I think it was the first time I actually took advice and did self-care. I decided to take a nap during the day and miss a couple things because I needed it and felt better. And if you decide to tag along, tag along with somebody, they didn't care, they let you tag along. And it was the interpersonal play and just the camaraderie and thing, it was definitely magic. And the first Legends of the Stars, because that was my very first LARP ever. And I got to beat up my husband on that one.
Probably Legends of the Stars. I mean, I've not been to another LARP. I know you were talking about some others, but I haven't been to another one where you get to live on a battleship and live in that environment for, 2 days.
My favorite LARP. Oh, gosh, I'm kind of torn right now. So it's definitely between two. And so I would definitely say Imperial Magiscola is one of my favorite LARPs. And that would be because it was done by a group that a lot of us had already played together in, kind of before the game started. And whenever you have a group of people that have already worked so well before, you're a little bit more willing and understanding of kind of their norms, their boundaries, and you're able to tell an even more in-depth, more intense story because you understand where they're coming from and you understand their reservations. And together you already have a system of trust in place. And so with Imperial, we had that trust going in, and we elected to tell a pretty dark story overall. The basis is that it is an elitist magical college, and very much between the conservative elitist factions and the more progressive revolutionary type new magic system. And that is, it allowed for amazing play, a lot of give and take and tension, and especially very, very relevant to current political standings. So that is definitely by far one of my most favorite LARPs so far. And then I would say my other one has been Outbound Hope. And that was a first-time game played over just this past November. And I really enjoyed that one because we were all a new group, had never really played together, and we all came together in this very, very intimate setting of a battleship. And we created an amazing world, and we told some very, very compelling stories together. And just being able to tell those stories on an incredible set piece, it really was a very incredible experience.
And my favorite LARP are definitely the On Good and Evil campaign, but that's mostly because I know the person who does the campaign and are the main organizer for it, and she's super amazing at doing the LARPs. And most of my friends are in this campaign. It's not very large, like around 20 people are at maximum each campaign as players. Then we have some NPCs and stuff, and all of them knows, like, okay, I need a break. They want that night, then you say, okay, I will bring you hot chocolate because you need that break. And we have been playing with each other for a very, very long time as well. But Outbound Hope have really gotten in high, like, it's up there. I had fun on that lot. There was good people there, and it was a super fun concept. I had a super good character and all that. So, yeah, those two are my favorite.
Oh dear, that is once again a very difficult question. It's really hard to go like a single favorite because different genres have so different strengths. Kind of like it's really hard to pick out a favorite movie. Some things make you sad and some things make you happy and some things go boom and you just enjoy all of those. So it's really difficult to go with just one. But I'd say one of those moments where I was completely immersed in the cinematics, like the cinematic feel, was a game called Verisade in Finland I think it was in 2008 or something. That basically translates to Rain of Blood, where it was all about like this kind of mundane. At the same time, it was extraordinary and mundane. We were out like trying to escape from a band that we didn't know was hunting us, and then some supernatural elements started happening, and there were a few moments where I was really as if I was in a horror movie, and I loved every moment of it. And it's one of those like memories that I share when people ask what's so cool about LARP, and I'm like, well, this.
My favorite LARP is a tough one because I feel like every LARP I've done has given me something that I either was expecting or wasn't expecting, but I think I would have to pick a wing and a prayer. It was a 1940s LARP set in England during the World War II. It was set about the WAF, the Women's Auxiliary Air Force, during the Battle of Britain. And really, there's not a lot of games that I've found that focus on the female perspective so much as this one did. And despite it being the most technologically advanced game I've ever been to, it really helped me connect to that time period and my ancestors who were alive during the 1940s and who went through something like that. It was just a beautiful game that really touched me.
My favorite LARP. Usually I divide this into two categories. I divide it in American and international. So national and international LARP. My favorite international LARP to this day that I've ever played and ever would have played was Fairweather Manor. Specifically Fairweather Manor 4 and 5, where it was just the most amazing experience. It was my favorite type of LARP. It was romance. It was drama. I got fake married. That was amazing. It was incredible. I got to be a bridesmaid. I got to be a bride. That experience I just got completely lost in. It was a really fun, deeply emotional moment getting fake married. And right now in America, I think currently my favorite LARP experience to date has been a game called Dameron. And Dameron is a really great Viking experience. It's like a Viking-inspired, kind of Nord-inspired LARP, where it's basically the end of the world, and it's broken up into 4 chapters. And every real-world year, every actual year of our time is 25 years in the game. So we just finished the first chapter and are now going into chapter 2. And all of our characters have aged 25 years, and it's allowed me to be eager to play somebody that will grow old, somebody who will get pregnant and have children, and I will see those children grow up in game. There will be people playing my kids and my grandkids, and I will get to be old. I've never been able to get old at a LARP. Nobody ever lets me play an old hag or something, or age, or a mother. I've never been those things. So I think for me, being able to pretend to have a loving husband, a child, and be with a child, be pregnant, I think is really cool. And I think the game is really innovative, and I'm really excited to see where that story is going to go with my character there. So I would say those are my favorite LARPs.
Thank you very much for that. As you all can hear, LARP is an excellent way to take a step back from the reality of every day and either explore something different, everything from a different aspect to yourself, or just get a total break. For myself, LARP means both a break from the everyday and fun. It gives you a chance to explore everything from dystopian pasts and futures to space travel, to being a wizard, to social issues, pretty much anything. As I've already mentioned some of the LARPs I have done earlier, I'll instead talk a little bit about my favorite aspects of LARP. I love the ability to become another person and explore a different part of my own personality through that character. The new friends that I've gained through LARP is another big thing for me, especially considering how many of them have come from very different backgrounds, very different countries, all over the world, in fact. As for what I would tell a new LARPer, I would say find a topic that interests you for your first LARP just to get the experience. This could be anything from space opera to fantasy to Regency period to dystopian futures or past, gothic horror, whatever it is that piques your interest. The more comfortable you are with the topic, the more you'll be able to focus on your own interactions and having fun. Above all, do what you have fun doing. And this is especially true in LARP. My favorite LARP to date was a small parlor LARP I participated in when I lived in Pennsylvania. It was run by a friend of mine, and what made it so good was that he was just an excellent storyteller. So that even though he wasn't directly narrating the story, for a short 3-hour LARP, he had built a complete world, and you really felt as if you were there in that specific setting that he created. It was really nice to hear that everyone's answers to these questions were both different in some ways and similar in others, as it gives you a good feel that LARP is not just one thing, but can also vary from person to person. Part of the reason for sharing all this is to help introduce you to just how wonderful this LARPing world is and to show you how incredible LARP can be. Thank you for tuning in to this, the first episode of From Adventurer to Innkeeper, a podcast for all LARPers. Our next episode, which will release on the 17th of May, will discuss different kinds of LARPs that are out there. This will be things like genre LARPs, player versus player LARPs, one-shots, multi-story campaigns, plot versus participatory LARPs, and also some of the different styles of LARPing, from American to Nordic to New Southern Italian. I'm your host, Martin, and thank you for listening. We would like to thank our sponsor, Mal Books. Additionally, we'd like to thank LexMedia for the use of the Fred Rothmel Memorial Podcast Studio. And you can check out both of their links on our website at adventurertoinnkeeper.com. That's adventurertoinnkeeper.com. And thank you for listening.